Greetings.
Salutations from Silver Wolf Comics and Games. This is our 21st episode of But Wait There's More. It means we can go drinking, but we'll save that for later. So, last go around, the intrepid party faced off against the dragon, got out of there, and went and talked to Penn. Almost talked themselves, well, not the entire party, a certain someone nearly talked himself into being kibble. And poor Geth, trying to be a good guy and a buddy, nearly bit it also and had to give up a 10,000 gold emerald. Freaking huge. And I bring it up because I know he's going to give me grief about bringing it up. Hello, Spencer. This episode's for you, by the way. And the rest of you will see why. Now, they're going to go do this thing. They're going to go take on this pirate lord and take him out and rescue, dear Ito's master.
We will be heroic.
And do things and sail ships and do, Errol Flynn type stuff.
Daring do is the word we're looking for, folks.
Thank you. This is why we work well together. We find each other words.
Yeah, because I can't find them on my own.
And now, originally the plan was to get the bowl and give it to the Dark Lady as a peace offering, as a means of solidifying their alliance with this drow pirate captain.
But
this did not sit well with the party. Part of the reason why is Penn's like, look, I know you need this artifact to form this alliance to take out this other bad guy. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend, I get it, just make sure you get the bowl back. And so we can put it in the null cells, that way it doesn't go messing people up. Now in the grand scheme of things, this artifact is not a world ender. It is very effective on the seas, as it can create maelstroms, hurricanes, and whatnot, but it's not earth-shattering. Elminster is not going to be coming looking for you unless you happen to decide to take on Waterdeep.
However, having such a dangerous artifact, it's like personally I consider it very dangerous, because if you have a well-appointed city like Waterdeep, or any of the island nations, or some of the southern nations that have navies and so on, and they rely a lot on trade, if you have some maniac with the ability to just whip up a hurricane at will and throw it at the coast, we don't want that to happen, because you know that if we just make nice with this woman and go, here's this incredibly powerful thing, it might as well be juggling atom bombs. So we talked ourselves out of giving the thing to her. Mm-hmm. And now we were just trying to figure out, well, how do we make all this work then?
And one of the issues is that the Bowl of the Winds has to be attuned with a Storm Sorcerer. Now, before he up and got himself killed, before he got herself, the other player got themselves heisted away by Mab for doing something incredibly boneheaded. They had a Storm Sorcerer, because that's what that character was. And now they are short a Storm Sorcerer. Now the Dark Lady is one. That's why she wants the Bowl of the Winds, because she can handle this thing. She will have the power. Now they do know one other Storm Sorcerer. It's a halfling. Their friend Ping, who is also like a big sister to Geth. And that's their running joke, is that she calls him little brother and he calls her big sister, because they kind of grew up together under the tutelage of the Tink Master. And eventually she got her own ship, and he was doing his barbarian fighting thing, and they were still close. And so they're like, you know what? Why don't we ask Ping to do it, and then we'll have a sorcerer with this incredibly powerful artifact able to help us do incredibly powerful things and take on this pirate lord. So I said the very dangerous word, okay.
Yes, because this plan got more and more harebrained by the moment, because we're relying a lot on people saying yes and everything going according to plan. Now, if anybody who has been watching this show for more than 2 episodes knows, nothing goes to plan, ever. So, there we were.
Yep. And so now Geth goes, and who went with Geth to talk Ping into doing this thing? Was it Ito?
I believe.
Okay. So Ito,
one of our more convincing characters.
Right. They go up to her and talk to her, and again, the better the role playing, the lower you need to actually roll, to the point where you don't even need to roll. And there, Geth and Ito are trying to explain to her how they need her to attune to this artifact and do this thing so they can fight the pirate lord and finish him off. And they do it. She's really reluctant because it's this powerful artifact, and she reluctantly says yes, but throws in a caveat, says, I don't think you realize what you're asking me to do. And there's multiple aspects of that. One, they're betraying a drow. They're asking this halfling to be part of that betrayal, where now she has control of this thing, this artifact that this drow covets. And so now she's got a target on her back. But on top of that, this artifact is fueled by blood sacrifice. Not like big, slaughtering virgins or sheep or whatnot, but anytime you use it, you need to cut yourself and pour, and it has to be your own blood. You have to cut yourself and pour your own blood into the bowl. So it siphons some of your life force away to fuel the spell. Nasty piece of work. And it's very tiring. So if you use it a lot, it can really sap your strength, and really, if you use it too much, it could kill you potentially. So they convince her to do it, and they get everybody, all the free peoples of the northern Pirate Isle. And
yeah, we were really rolling BS left and right to make that happen.
Yeah.
We're going to go out there and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. There was no big speech in front of the whole harbor where we get a big cheer at the end of it. But they went anyway, so I guess they were kind of tired of the status quo anyway.
Yeah. And as we discussed in the last episode, this has been building for 7 months while they were hanging out in the null cells. They thought, for them, it was only 7 days. For everybody else, it's been 7 months.
Yeah, we kicked over the ant nest as well. People have been busy while we were busy. And, well, we kind of step out into, there's already a pot boiling. We're already we got a nice rolling boil here. And it's like, okay, well, I guess it's time to steer the avalanche.
Yeah. And off they go. They sail around the island down to the south.
Time to go poke the bear.
And they poked it. And
Don't say it like that.
and you have them in the lead ship with the Tink Master in his steam iron ship. And then Ping in hers, in the Storm's Fury, riding behind and being protected by Philippe, the barbarian. And so they sail into battle, and having poked the bear by firing on some of the pirate lord's ships as they go around the island and head towards his main harbor, by the time they get down to where they need to be, he is out in full force with his fleet, with Ito's master tied to Is it the mizzenmast?
It's tied to the mainmast.
The mainmast.
It's just can't miss him. Center of attention. It's like, oh yeah, there he is. You can't miss him. He's the one with the black eye tied to the ship.
Yeah, next to the guy with the big hat and huge feather.
What is it with the big hats?
I don't know. It's a thing.
It's a thing, yeah, I guess.
And so they go into battle, and Ping summons the mother of all storms. Huge maelstrom, and wipes out just about half to 3/4 of the pirate lord's fleet. Just sucks them right down into the bottom. And now there's a big storm going as well. And they're having to sail through, just blast their way through to his ship. Like they have, imagine if you will, a hurricane in the background along with a maelstrom has cut off reinforcements from the west. Yeah, I think from the west. And then it sucked down a good portion of the fleet, the back portion of the fleet. Well, in the middle, or what was the middle, is this pirate lord, and in the front are some more of his ships. So they have to blast through those ships and then engage the pirate lord ship. And I'm going to look up his name because it's just fully escaped me for a second.
But while he's doing that, I can tell you this was not one of those clever maneuvers done like Nelson at Trafalgar. This was no delicate, we're going to go here with a bit of misdirection, and then we're going to do this elegant turn and going to surprise the enemy. No, we went right pretty much straight up his nose. And, well,
you can do that with a, steel ship.
Well, yeah, it helps, they're throwing arrows and pikes and everything else at you, and it really does help that the ship is ironclad.
Yeah.
And, well, plus being a paddle wheeler, you can actually move against the wind if you need to. But anyway, it wasn't pretty. It was just kind of, that way, go, and, well,
brute force. And so they clear the way with the Storm's Fury and Ping following close behind them. And they come up alongside, do a boarding action, have this big knockdown, drag-out fight.
It's glorious.
And honestly, because the party had become so powerful, I have to really throw strong stuff at them and even amp stuff up in the middle of a fight.
Well, that's because we don't fight fair.
Yeah,
we have a system.
And so to make it challenging, sometimes I have to modify things on the fly. Hey, DM powers. So they do this thing, and they have this fight, and they're able to rescue Ito's master from Joran Dax. Got the name. And, yeah. And they managed to finish him off. But in the process, without anybody noticing, the Dark Lady has boarded the Storm's Fury and is now trying to take the artifact away from Ping. And they see this. Now the issue...
At a distance.
At a distance, because now the Storm's Fury and the Dark Lady's ship are getting sucked down by the Mother of all Storms.
Yeah, they're literally becoming the focus of the storm. And now, anybody who's ever read any story about Drow, every one of them is fairly dangerous. And it's just the idea of a Drow boarding party. It's just a windmill of steel. But the crew is giving a good account of themselves, and then you've got two storm sorcerers banging away at each other trying to take possession of said bowl. Yeah. Now, here we are on the cusp of the storm, trying to figure out how are we going to get over there to help them in time.
Without getting sucked down themselves. And right now, picture it in your head, if you can, that most of the crew of the Storm's Fury is dead. And right now, it's just Philippe holding on to, they'd been having this fight, but now it's devolved down to Philippe holding on to Ping and fending off the Drow with his Rancier, which is this, huge spear sword thing. and he's holding them at bay. He's lost his floaty, his big battering ram. It's off somewhere,
rolling around on the deck somewhere.
and Geth is seeing this, and Spencer is seeing this in his mind, and he's getting torn up because he talked Ping into doing this, and Ping is already weakened from having used the bowl so much to summon this storm and control it. And now, you've got Philippe, who he's like really good friends with, trying to protect her, and she's kind of limp in his arms, and she's just barely holding on to the bowl, and they are, yards away.
Yeah, because we were under the impression, now, okay, the Storm Sorcerer has to use X amount of blood to do this spell, to whip up this storm. But evidently there was a minor footnote somewhere in the midst of how the thing's designed, is that she has to continually do this, because it's not the point where she's just got a cut on her thumb shaking it in the bowl. She's bleeding. She's bleeding out. And now the problem is the storm is getting worse and worse and worse. And here we are in the middle of it going, we're not sailors, what do we do now?
Yeah. And really the only thing they can do is take the ironclad ship and sail away. I mean, use that paddle wheel to get the hell out, because all the other ships are getting sucked into this thing and getting destroyed. I mean, it is complete slaughter. Like, the pirate isles are going to be devastated. I mean, there's going to be some pirates left, but for the most part...
Yeah, it'll be like those 5 guys.
Yeah, and really good burgers. Sorry, side note. And this whole cacophonous mayhem is going on, and their friend is going down with her ship, and doing the thing that they asked her to do. And Geth specifically, like, he was the one that convinced her to go do this thing, and she's dying doing it. And in the midst of this, like, while they're trying to get away, the Double D dirigible comes flying in to try and save them, and drops ropes and is like, hey, grab hold, we need to get out of here. And because some people are on one ship, or it's just mayhem and trying to rescue them. Well, Geth is like, no, I got to go save him. And even if he died, he was going to go try and save him. And Turin, most everybody manages to get onto the gearhead, which is the Tinkmaster ship, the Ironclad. And Turin manages to get up onto the Double D dirigible,
which the arrival of said vehicle was much of a surprise. Now, we mentioned a concept to the Tinkmaster, and he said, yeah, we could probably build it, but never mentioned it again. So all of a sudden you hear the thrum of rotors, and the ride of the Valkyrie playing loudly over the speakers and whatnot, and look up and see this enormous twin-hulled Zeppelin overhead. It's a bit of a surprise. It was kind of like, oh, cool. Oh, crap, we're still in the middle of a fight, but that's so cool. So now we're trying to do the thing, and now we're splitting up, because we've got lowered ropes, and it's a matter of, well, we can go to the Zeppelin and try and fly over there through the middle of this hurricane, or try and do some sort of emotional helping somehow on the surface. Now, unfortunately, Fergus cannot swim that far that fast. More than likely, they would tell him to dive to the bottom and run. He would get there quicker. So, where does Geth end up?
Geth ends up, luckily, having a druid on hand who can cast water walking. So, Ailey goes over, casts water walking on Geth, and he is running across the waves. I mean, and it's not just, oh, it's very simple, I'm going to do this thing. No, he had to make several checks to see if he kept his balance and kept from getting smashed by the waves as he's trying to run across them.
Yeah, it's one thing to be a broken field runner, but when the field is trying to beat you to death.
Yeah. And he manages to get over there, but he's losing time. And as he climbs up onto the deck, Philippe sees him over the melee, because Philippe is huge. He's a Goliath.
Tall.
Yeah, and he's fending off the drow, and he sees, Geth climb up on the walkway, and he just throws Ping. Just football tosses Ping over the entire melee. The bowl falls out of her hands, hits the deck, and starts rolling towards the edge. She's flying through the air, and Philippe says, get her to safety.
Very, very heroically.
Yeah.
While he's beating on the 7 or 8 drow that are left. They're doing a hell of a job doing it because, he's alone. There's nobody left.
Yeah. And so Geth catches Ping, and he had to roll to see if he caught her. And then this is where Turin being in the Double D dirigible comes in handy. Seeing that Geth caught the halfling, Ricky had already tied a rope off to one of his arrows, and now he has to shoot Geth. So he puts an arrow in Geth that's tied to a rope, and Geth just grabs the rope, and at the moment that he grabs the rope, the ship gets yanked out from underneath him. And this is all like, I had it on a clock. If Ricky hadn't have done that, Geth would have gone down with the ship, or at the very least, he would have been trying to run as the maelstrom is sucking,
running up the side of a whirlpool.
Right. And I was trying to kill. This is one of those big climactic moments where I was not ashamed about trying to kill
everybody,
because this was one of those situations where this is big and heroic, and the only way for it to be big and heroic is if it is deadly. And so, thankfully, Ricky was up in the Double D dirigible, is able to fire a shot, hit Geth in the chest. He grabs the rope, and off they go, like flying through the air. And as they're flying, because Ping had been bleeding out so much, not just from the cuts that she had to do for the bowl, but because the drow had been attacking her and harrying her and trying to kill her, she's lost too much blood. And she reaches up her little hand and puts her bloody hand on Geth's cheek and says, "Goodbye, little brother," and just the slow hand fall and wipe down his face. And I messed Spencer up, and I'm tearing up a little inside right now.
Nothing to see here. It's a little misty, a little dusty in here.
And it just those were the consequences of his actions, because like they were really focused, and I understand they were focused on Jorah and Dax, but at the same time they betrayed the Dark Lady. The Dark Lady wasn't going to take that sitting down. She wanted that artifact. She was going to get that artifact,
and then do terrible things to us.
Yeah. Now,
not necessarily in that order.
Exactly. Now, as all this is happening, the bowl falls into the water, and there's a massive explosion that shatters the storm's fury. And in that explosion, you see Philippe flying through the air and landing in the water, in which he cannot swim. Remember, he had that big piece of mast that he called his floaty because he can't swim. Well, that's gone. He lost it in the fight with the drow, and he's now being pulled down under.
There's probably one drow over on the rail somewhere that's got it embedded in his forehead.
Well, there wouldn't be a forehead left.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just kind of.
Anyway, so now Ping dies in Geth's arms, and Philippe gets sucked under by the Mother of All Storms, because at this point it's completely out of anybody's control, and it's just a thing of nature. But there's a huge explosion, and in the explosion, you see the kind of like the silhouette of Umberlee, the goddess of the sea. And what most of them did not know.
This is a bit of a surprise, folks, because it's just, wait, what, huh?
And so what they don't know, and what the silhouette says, "You've slain my daughter, you will all die." And the maelstrom gets worse. Ping is actually Umberlee's blood. And that's why the bowl was destroyed, because to destroy the bowl, you have to fill the bowl with Umberlee's blood and throw it into the Mother of all storms.
So we accidentally, our intent was to either get the darn thing back or destroy it, one way or the other. So either way, it would either be guarded again or it would just be out of play. But nobody told. It's like we didn't get the memo on dear little Ping being related to this sea goddess, and so there we were, all kind of standing there on the deck, mouth hanging open, surprised, and it's like, oh dear, now we're in for it.
Yeah, because they inadvertently brought about the death of one of Umberlee's daughters. Because in D&D, in Faerun, sometimes gods take on mortal forms and they breed, kind of like the Greek gods. And so now you have this half-breed, this half-breed halfling, as it were, that was the daughter of Umberlee, and so the storm gets worse, and the only thing that saves them is the Tink Master's skill at engineering. Because that paddle boat is just paddling away, and the Double D dirigible is just going.
Where are we going? Away! We want to go away from the storm.
And they're able to get away thanks to the gearhead and the Double D dirigible, and they eventually get back to port, and luckily the cleric of the group, Rithian, had a resurrection spell. Or it was Ailey. Wasn't it Ailey?
Well, we weren't going to let it go.
Yeah.
It was too heartbreaking, and it was our failure that, this person just basically threw their life away because we asked them to.
Yeah.
So it's like this can't stand. We got to do something. We got to do right by this. And honestly, in the back of my mind is like we really should do something right about this if we ever want to go near water again. So, honestly, I really don't recall.
I think it was Ailey. Ailey cast reincarnation on Ping and on Krontis, who had died yet again doing something incredibly
almost heroic.
Almost heroic in service to Loviatar. It's more of like, I don't care if I do something crazy and die, because for Loviatar, pain and death.
Woo! I win. He wins either way.
Yeah, either way, if he dies and goes to his afterlife with Loviatar, she'd be like, good job, I'm going to whip you now.
Here's something sharp, roll around on it.
Yeah. Well, at that time, he was a human. Well, he came back as a gnome, a forest gnome, I believe.
Because with resurrection...
Reincarnation.
Reincarnation. It's an R word.
Yeah.
There is a chance that you won't come back as your original race.
Very good chance.
Yeah, you could. There's a table for it, and I think it's percentile dice, right?
Yeah.
To roll that. So anyway, you probably have a 1 in 20 chance to come back as you were. So in this case, he's already changed from a tiefling to a human. Then he had to fix all of his pants and whatnot because he didn't have the tail hole in the back of it anymore. And now here he is, a gnome. So now he has twice as much clothing as he did before, because now once we take everything in, he's got enough pieces to make extra drawers and everything.
Yeah. Now that being said, amazingly, and I am not making this up at all, I rolled exactly what I needed to have Ping come back as she was. She stayed the same kind of halfling that she was originally, which to me was amazing. It was almost like, hey.
Well, maybe it is Umberlee's kid.
It's almost like, I don't want to be sacrilegious, but like the gods shone down, like the dice gods shone down and smiled on me. It's like, yeah, y'all did this thing, it was heroic. Y'all are doing a good thing by bringing her back. She'll come back as she was, and she'll continue life.
She'll come back heroically as the hero that we all know.
Yeah.
Besides, we couldn't afford another actress.
There's that too. And so now she's back and she's tired and weak, and they hold a funeral for Philippe and all the rest of the pirates.
Not a
that
dry
passed
eye
away.
in the house, folks. Not a dry eye.
Yeah. I messed up the whole group that night, especially Spencer. He was really tore up, and I'm kind of proud of that I was able to give my players that experience, because laughs and just general hilarity is fun and good, but it's nice to be able to pull on their heartstrings and make them really feel invested in a character, such that when something happens and they pass away, like it really messes them up. So yeah. So that happened, and now because Philippe is dead and most of her and all of her crew, including her ship, is gone, Ping wants to leave the Pirate Isles and volunteers to become the captain of the Double D dirigible. Because what a better place, what a better captain for a flying ship than a storm sorcerer.
I always have that one rain cloud to hide in.
Or, if you need fair weather, like, okay, just
Mego.
And so Ping lives on, and she is now the reigning captain of the Double D dirigible, and she is a recurring character for the group.
Yes, it's like the name, the Double D dirigible, really is just the design name. Honestly, we haven't really christened the ship yet, although I personally am leaning towards Dolly, but that's just me. It's going to probably be much discussion about that. If anything, write in and maybe we'll be able to decide on a new name from your input.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, if the audience comes up with something good, we may pick it.
Just saying.
Yeah, a little interaction wouldn't hurt. So from there, with everything done, the villain defeated, the master rescued, with their new flying ship, they are now off to Waterdeep in a hurry, because Fergus has a note.
I have many notes.
Notes.
It's like when we came out of the caves, out of the prison. One of the first things, and it is rather, it's a little bit intimidating, because you know that this character that you're talking to is actually a dragon, not just this well-dressed guy. And you have some messages. In this time, over the months, he has become something of a pen pal to Fergus's wife, because she keeps sending messages, and, well, he's been reading them, reading my mail, and sending responses. So now they have, they've found a rapport somewhere in there, and he's been keeping them abridged of what we're doing, because he can kind of glance in and see where we're at least to the point of knowing that, all right, we haven't all bit it in there, we're still alive. And, well, we have to get back. And he's like, you need to get back, because there is something going on that you need to take care of. Now, of course, this is so terribly, terribly vague for, well, why couldn't she just write me a note and tell me exactly why I need to be back there right now?
But wait, there's more to that story later, and that'll be in the next episode. So if you enjoyed the video, please give us a like, share it with your friends, leave a comment if you're so inclined. Thank you so much for your support, for watching, for being part of this with us. I know that Ray and I enjoy doing this and sharing it with you. And
it's so very cathartic.
Yeah, and we will continue to do so long as we have stories. And once we catch up to where we're at with D&D, we might branch off and talk about some other role-playing experiences that we've had, to include some of our misadventures in the Star Wars universe.
He does that. Yes. Oh, that's fun. There's a lot of stories there. But that is for another day.
Yes. So, as always, but wait,
There's more.
Bye.